Welcome to Molecule.
Welcome back, friends. Today I'll be taking further my discussion on protein structure. Before starting with this lecture, I would like to thank my viewers for a wonderful response till now and request those who are new to my channel to watch my previous videos on Ramachandran plot and amino acids given in the description box to correlate better with the lecture I am about to give. We know that proteins have four states of organization or four levels of architecture, like the primary structure, the secondary structure, the tertiary structure, and the quaternary structure. The question arises that how does the protein's primary structure forms? I have already discussed this in my previous video of amino acids, that how a protein undergoes formation of a primary structure. The protein's primary structure is formed when two amino acids combine together with expulsion of water to form a chain of peptide bonds called polypeptides. Now, one amino acid with a carboxyl end, the carboxyl end contains COOH group, and another amino acid with an amino terminal combines. And what happens is that the OH from the carboxyl group and H from the NH3 group removes and forms water, and then CONH2 bond is formed, which is also called as an amide bond or a peptide bond. Many amino acids, when they repeat this step, they form a polypeptide. The term secondary structure refers to the local spatial arrangement of amino acid residues that are adjacent in a segment of a polypeptide, unaffected by its side chains. We cannot rule out the role of side chains in the nature of proteins. This secondary structure refers to the local spatial arrangement, means they are not concerned with the side chains or their arrangement. They have a fixed pattern and they will keep repeating that pattern so that they can form a stable secondary structure. Both alpha helix and beta sheets are held together by hydrogen bonds between the carbonyl, that is the CO atom, and NH group in the amide bonds. We all know, and I have already discussed this topic in amino acids, that protein structure is basically stabilized by two forces. One is a covalent force and another is a non-covalent force. Covalent forces involve the formation of peptide bond, that is a covalent bond, and also disulfide bridges, which will be discussed in tertiary structure. To move on, the non-covalent interactions involve hydrogen bonds, hydrophobic interactions, ionic interactions, van der Waals forces, etc. So we will be discussing about hydrogen bonds, as hydrogen bond is a major player in stabilization of secondary structures of alpha helix and beta sheets. We will see that. Except for amino acids near the end of an alpha helix, all the carbonyl and NH groups are involved in hydrogen bonding, because whenever CONH bond are at the end of an alpha helix, they are involved in turns, so they don't participate in the formation of hydrogen bond. The most prominent of all the secondary structures is the alpha helix, which is the most common, and then followed by beta sheets or beta conformations. Another common type is the beta turn, which helps in in association of alpha helix and beta turns, and beta sheets, which helps in the association of alpha helix and beta sheets. Whenever a regular pattern is not found, the secondary structures are considered as undefined or as a random coil. The alpha helix. The alpha helix is the most common secondary structure, which resembles a creeper climbing a tree for support, or like a spring. The alpha helix form is common due to its optimal use of internal hydrogen helical bonds, that is, that it is more efficient than beta sheet in forming a hydrogen bond. So that is why alpha helix is more common than beta sheets. There are 3.6 residues of amino acids per turn of the helix. The pitch of the helix is equal to the rise per turn, that is 1.5 angstrom, and the number of residues per turn, that is 3.6 angstrom, When you multiply 1.5 angstrom to 3.6 angstrom, it comes out to be 5.4 angstrom. Each successive turn of the alpha helix is held to adjacent turns by 3 to 4 hydrogen bonds. Means it can vary from 3 to 4 hydrogen bonds, conferring significant stability on the overall structure. Not all polypeptides forms the alpha helix. Alpha helix is basically formed when correct amino acid association is formed. So if there are some amino acids which do not favor the formation of alpha helix, and there are some which favor the formation of alpha helix, we will discuss this in detail. Each amino acid residue in a polypeptide has an intrinsic property to form an alpha helix. But alanine shows the greatest tendency to form the alpha helix because alanine has CH3 group and as its side chain, and it is also maximally allowed in the Ramachandran plot. We also know that there are some negatively charged amino acids and there are some positively charged amino acids which when they come close to each other, they repel each other, which causes unstabilized structures in the alpha helix, and they don't favor the formation of alpha helix in this case because they repel each other, and if they are repelling each other, stability will not be maintained. Or in that case, if there are some bulky groups like serine, threonine, asparagine and cysteine, they can also destabilize the alpha helix if they are close together in the chain due to steric hindrance. To know more about steric hindrance, you can watch my video on Ramachandran plot. A constraint on the formation of the alpha helix is the presence of proline or glycine residues, because they have the least inclination to form alpha helix. Means if proline or glycine is introduced into the alpha helix, it may get destabilized. In proline, the nitrogen atom is a part of a rigid ring, and a rotation about the N and C alpha bond is not possible or restricted up to 60 degrees. Thus, proline residue introduces a destabilizing kink in alpha helix, or proline is capable of destabilizing the alpha helix. This is a structure of alpha helix in which you can see the green dots are the R groups and they are facing outwards, and the black atoms embedded in the alpha helix are the carbon atoms. This resembles an alpha helix. If you can see, they both look like a coiled structure. This is a basic spring. In the third figure, it is shown that the blue lines here between the red atom and the white atom shows the association of hydrogen bond, in which the red atom is the oxygen atom and the white atom is hydrogen bond. And to know more about hydrogen bonding, you can watch my video on Ramachandran plot or amino acids. What they are showing is, they are showing that there are many hydrogen bonds in the alpha helix, which stabilizes the alpha helix, because we know that alpha helix is stabilized by intra-chain hydrogen bonding. Further, in the fourth figure, we can also see the rise of the helix, which is 0.54 nanometer or 5.4 angstrom, as we know that 1 angstrom is equal to 10 nanometers, or 1 nanometer is equal to 0.1 angstrom. 1 nanometer is 10 to the power minus 9 and 1 angstrom is 10 to the power minus 10. And approximately there are, as discussed earlier, there are 3 to 4 residues. So an approximate value of 3.7 amino acid residues is considered. And if we multiply that, I've told you that this rise is 1.5 angstrom, and due to there are 3.7 amino acid residues, so that means 1.5 into 3.6 or 3.7 will give you 0.54 nanometers or 5.4 angstrom, the total length of the helix. This is the arrangement of hydrogen bonds in an alpha helix, in which you can see that the CO of the first residue and the NH of the fourth residue is involved, which makes it I and I plus 4 association. In case of beta sheets, it becomes I plus 3, means it will associate with the third amino acid residue in case of beta sheets. Beta sheets look like a zigzag-like structure in which the R groups are again facing outwards, and these whenever the arrangement takes place, this white atom and this red atom associated with the successive beta sheet to form hydrogen bonds. This is a diagram of an alpha helix which looks like a ribbon-like shaped, which looks like a ribbon. A ribbon-like shape is used basically to denote alpha helix. The beta sheets. In the beta sheet formation, the backbone of the polypeptide chain is extended into a zigzag-like structure rather than a helical structure. The arrangement of several segments side by side, all of which are in the beta conformation, is called a beta sheet. The zigzag structure of the individual polypeptide segments give rise to a pleated appearance of the overall sheet. As discussed earlier, hydrogen bonds are involved in the stabilization of beta sheets also, and the polypeptide chains in a beta sheet are known to be up to 15 residues long. It has been classified into two types, parallel and anti-parallel beta sheets. Again, this classification is on the basis of the hydrogen bond they are forming with each other. This figure shows the arrow-like structure in which the head of the arrow points to the carboxyl terminal and the tail points to the amino terminal of the polypeptide chain. And we can see that there are some inverted arrows also, which denotes the anti-parallel strands of the beta sheets. They can also form twisted structures. That is why you can see that there are some twisted beta sheets also in the protein structure in the polypeptide chain. This is an example of an anti-parallel beta sheet in which we can see that the hydrogen bonds are just below each other, and these blue dots shows the hydrogen bonds between the oxygen atom, which is in red, and the hydrogen atom, which is in white, and they form and you can see that the arrows are facing opposite to each other, so they are anti-parallel beta sheets. The length of a residue is 7 angstrom in case of anti-parallel beta sheets, and it is 6.5 angstrom in the case of parallel beta sheets. And here the hydrogen bonding in parallel beta sheets, the hydrogen bonding is diagonal in relation, and because all the arrows are facing in the same direction, that's why they are called as parallel beta sheets. But somehow the hydrogen bonds in the anti-parallel beta sheets are more stabilized as compared to the parallel beta sheets, because the hydrogen bonds in the anti-parallel beta sheets forms straightly because they are very close to each other. The hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom is very close to each other, so they form a straight hydrogen bond, and they are more stable as compared to the parallel beta sheets, because the distance between the oxygen atom and the hydrogen atom increases and they form a distorted hydrogen bonding pattern. As discussed previously, I have told you that the hydrogen bonds of the parallel sheets are distorted in comparison to those of anti-parallel beta sheets, and that's why the parallel beta sheets are less stable than the anti-parallel beta sheets. As shown, the anti-parallel beta sheets have a length of 7 angstrom. This diagram shows a diagram of a polypeptide chain which is rich in beta sheets. The blue arrows show the beta sheets, and the ribbon-like structure shows the alpha helix with beta turns or other turns shown in yellow. This is the polypeptide which is shown, and the arrow-like structure is the beta strand as denoted in the figure, and the ribbon-like structure are the alpha helix, which has also been shown in the figure. प्रोटीन से इतना घबरा रहे हो तो मैं तुम्हारी मजबूरी समझता हूँ. Actually, whether it is an alpha helix or a beta sheet, both don't favor the attachment of protein in their structures, because protein does not have an NH bond to any side chain to form hydrogen bonds. So, and as I told you previously that both alpha helix and beta strands are stabilized by hydrogen bonds. So whenever if an amino acid cannot provide these structures with a hydrogen bond, they are not required by them. So that's why they don't prefer proline in their structures, whether it is beta sheet or it is an alpha helix. The beta turns. And the location of bends, including beta turns, in the polypeptide chain is also decided by specific bend producing residues such as proline, threonine, serine and glycine. All of them are not involved in the formation of alpha helix or a beta strand. Proline is preferred in beta turns because it can undergo cis and trans configuration, which is favorable for a tight turn, and the glycine, being a small structure, can fit anywhere, so they are also preferred by the beta turns. The beta turns are very common in proteins, and hydrogen bonds are formed means are formed when donor and residues are separated by 3 residues, means I and I plus 3. We'll discuss this in the next slide. Similarly, in alpha turns, hydrogen bonds are separated by 4 residues, and in gamma turn they are separated by 2 residues. The turns act as connecting elements that link the successive runs of alpha helix or beta conformation, means they connect the alpha helix to the beta sheets and or beta sheets to the alpha helix. Particularly common are the beta turns that connects the end of 2 adjacent segments of an antiparallel beta sheet. Glycine and proline residues often occur in beta turns, and I have discussed this, why does it occur regularly in the beta turns. Because I have told you that the latter, because peptide bond involving the amino nitrogen of proline readily assume the cis configuration, a form that is particularly preferred by a beta turn to form a tight turn. And glycine can fit anywhere, so they are small and flexible. The structure of reverse beta turns, as we can see that I plus 1, I plus 2 and I plus 3. Whenever the hydrogen bond is formed between I and I plus 3, it forms a beta turn. The next figure shows the loops or turns shown by thread-like structures, which can vary, means they can be alpha turn, they can be beta turn, or they can be a gamma turn. Usually beta turns are formed and preferred by the protein structures. Coming in the next series, we'll be talking about globular proteins and fibrous proteins, and the fibrous proteins like collagen, alpha keratin and silk fibrion, and how they are important to our body. And tertiary structure and quaternary structure will be also discussed. Thank you for watching my video, and I have started uploading my videos in Hindi also, so if any of the audience prefer to listen to me in Hindi, they can also listen to my videos in Hindi. Please like, share and subscribe my videos, and those who are new, please don't forget to subscribe, and please give your valuable feedbacks to my video so that I can make better videos and I can keep serving you better. Thank you very much.
Please like, share and subscribe.